Hi everyone, thank you for visiting my page, Mental Wealth Today. I'm hoping this page will be some sort of a resource for people, whether it be for where to find counseling or what kind of resources to use as a counselor, and also a place to get some pretty good gear. I'm, just kind of an amateur designer in that way, so please know there's going to be improvements in the future for sure. But I ask that you check that out just to take a look. And also, like I said, while you're visiting my page, I hope that you find that it is useful for resources about learning more about psychology, learning more about counseling, whether you're a therapist, a therapy client, or neither. The hope is that this will be informative for you. And as a part of just the video portion of this website, I decided that I would start just sharing, like I said, all the information that we have, and in a way that helps you and helps me. I have recently been trying to encourage myself to read some more of the books that I have, that I've just been piling up and just waiting to get read, just so I can be the best therapist I can be. So this video segment right here, I guess, I haven't come up with a good title for it yet, but we'll see. I mean, it'll be attached to this video by the time I put it up there, but the idea here, like I said, is just to read these books and kind of give you my reactions and responses to the things that I'm reading as we go. Just so, like I said, if you're a professional, you can get some different perspective, or if you're not a professional, you can simply see what goes on in the mind of a therapist, what we're trained to do, what we're trained to think, and hopefully it'll be beneficial for you in your personal life, your professional life, and if you're just watching for no other reason than just to hear me read, that's cool too, I guess. Feel free to message me or comment some questions you might have, or even if you have a book that you want to see me read in the future, please give my email a try. I think it should be in the About Me page or the Contact Us page. Just give me/us some homework to do. We're happy to do that as well. So without further ado, I think I'm going to just go ahead with the first book that we have here. Now, the first book that we've got going on is called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. I think this might be backwards for you guys, but that's what this says. It's written by Napoleon Hill, and then there's a preface by W. Clement Stone. Now, I have recommended this book to a number of my clients, and they have just eaten it up. I've had, clients who have come in with the opposite of a positive mental attitude, and it's really surprised me how well this book has helped them, or how much this book has helped them, especially in cases where you wouldn't think it would work. I know I knew a guy who, used to come in angry all the time. And I'm using my best techniques. I'm trying to process his stress with him session to session. And just one day I happened to mention, like, hey, if you see a book out on the bookshelf you want, just take it. It's yours. Take a look at it and let me know what you think. And this was the book that he picked up. And a week later he was saying, hey, I now have a better outlook on life, and it's one of those books apparently that just helps people and just makes things click. So we're gonna go ahead and start this. I'm gonna kind of skip through the foreword because I don't know that we need to go too much into detail here. Just skip through. Okay, so this is the introduction. In my copy it's page 17. It's in Roman numerals. I think that's 17. But here we go. The greatest secret of success is there's no secret. That has been discovered by hundreds of thousands of men and women who have read this book in the 25 years since it was first published. The formula for success far from big secret, inaccessible, or difficult to understand, is clearly spelled out in the pages that follow. Like those high achievers who preceded you through the ideas herein, you'll find that something wonderful happens to you as a result of your reading, if you're ready. You will achieve physical, mental, and moral health, happiness, wealth, or any other worthwhile goal whose attainment does not violate the laws of God or the rights of your fellow man. Since this edition addresses an entirely new generation of readers, it might be helpful to give some background of the collaboration between Dr. Napoleon Hill and me. Think and Grow Rich. In 1937, I owned and operated a combined registry company, a national sales organization devoted exclusively to accident insurance. Morris Pickus, a well-known sales executive, sales counselor, and lecturer, gave me a book that had just been published titled Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I read it with consuming interest because the philosophy it set forth coincided so closely with my own. In fact, I was so taken by it that I sent copies to every one of my sales representatives throughout the United States. Bingo! I hit the jackpot, for I made a profitable discovery. I found in Think and Grow Rich a working tool that motivated my sales representatives to motivate themselves to increase their sales and profits. And something more, to acquire wealth through responding to its inspirational self-help action message. From then on, Think and Grow Rich was a standard part of the orientation packet given to all new sales representatives in my companies. I met Hill in person for the first time in 1951. He was then 68 years old, except for occasional speaking engagements, retired to the life of a country gentleman in Glendale, California. We hit it off immediately. Our conversation sparked an array of ideas, and I urged him to come out of retirement and resume his career in motivational training and writing. He said he would, with one condition, that I would be his general manager. I agreed, even though as head of a multi-million-dollar international insurance corporation, I had more than enough work to keep myself busy. Success magazine, which began as a digest-sized publication for members of our PMA Science of Success clubs, was one of the early results of our collaboration. We called it Success Unlimited when we founded it in 1954. Its purpose was to give members a monthly recharge of motivation. We believe that motivation is like a fire. Unless you continue to add fuel, it will go out. The idea worked, and our tiny magazine grew slowly but surely over the years, changing to standard size, shortening its name, and adding pages of national advertising until it developed into the prominent publication it is today. Through all the changes, Success has maintained the fundamental ideas that Hill and I put forth in the first issue. These positive concepts are as vital to the successes of achievers of the 80s as they were then. This book was written in 1987, apparently. Alright. They are at the heart of this book. It may seem incredible to readers who are unfamiliar with the development of self-help literature in this country, but the ideas in this book trace their origins to an interview that Napoleon Hill had in 1908 with the great steelmaker, philosopher, and philanthropist Andrew Carnegie. Hill, who had been born into poverty in the hills of Wise County, Virginia, in 1883, was blessed with a calm, patient stepmother who persuaded him not to follow his unruly bent, but to gain an education and set high goals for himself. He supported himself in college by working as a newspaper and magazine journalist. He hoped to eventually be able to attend law school. That changed, however, one day when he was assigned to interview Carnegie. The great man was so impressed by the young writer that he invited him to his home as a guest. They visited virtually non-stop for 3 days. The older man romanced the lives of the great philosophers and the impact their ideas had had on civilization throughout the centuries. It made a great impression on young Hill, who listened with rapt attention. A challenge. Andrew Carnegie knew human nature. One way to motivate an aggressive extrovert with a high energy level who has drive and stick-to-itiveness and whose reason and emotions are imbalanced is to challenge him. The young guest was such a person, and Carnegie devised an intriguing challenge for him. What is there in the climate of this great nation that I, a foreigner, can build a business and acquire wealth? Carnegie asked. How is it that anyone here can achieve success? And, before Hill could answer, he continued, I challenge you to devote 20 years of your life to the study of the philosophy of American achievement and come up with an answer. Will you accept? Yes, exclaimed Hill. Andrew Carnegie had an obsession. Anything in life that is worth having was worth working for. He was willing to give the young author his personal time to consult with him, to give him letters of introduction to the outstanding Americans of the day, and to reimburse him for any necessary out-of-pocket expenses, such as traveling, to meet with his interview subjects. But otherwise, Hill was on his own, and he would have to earn his own livelihood while working on the project. In the 20 years that followed, Hill interviewed more than 500 successful men. Among them were Henry Ford, William Wrigley Jr., John Wanamaker, George Eastman, John D. Rockefeller, Thomas A. Edison, Theodore Roosevelt, Albert Hubbard, J. Ogden Armour, Luther Burbank, Dr. Alexander Graham Bell, and Julius Rosenwald. Hill did earn his own livelihood by applying many of the principles he learned from Carnegie and the men that he interviewed. At last, in 1928, he completed his 8-volume work, Law of Success. These books, which were reprinted around the world and are still in print, motivated thousands of people to become outstanding achievers. On the recommendation of Senator Jennings Randolph, Hill became an advisor to 2 presidents of the United States, Woodrow Wilson and Franklin Delano Roosevelt. He influenced decisions that affected the course of American history. While he was working with Roosevelt, 7 years after the publication of Law of Success, Hill began writing the manuscript of Think and Grow Rich. It was an immediate bestseller, and it has been in continuous demand ever since. Untold millions of people have read it and recommended it to others, just as I did. Think and Grow Rich builds on the basic principles of Andrew Carnegie's philosophy as spelled out by Hill in Law of Success. What Hill and I undertook to do in this book, and I believe we accomplished it, was to distill the essence of both in a context that would make them immediately accessible. And something more. Success through a positive mental attitude tells you specifically how to use the most magnificent machine, ever conceived. A machine so awesome that only God himself could create it. This machine is your brain and nervous system. A human computer from which the electric computer was designed as to function, but it can never equal. Success through a positive mental attitude instructs you on exactly what to do and how to do it, in order to tap the powers of your subconscious mind and put them to work for you. Think for a moment. Have you ever been taught how to constructively use, neutralize, control, or harmonize with your passions, emotions, instincts, tendencies, feelings, moods, and habits of thought and action? Have you ever been taught exactly how to aim high and achieve your goals regardless of the obstacles? If your answer is no, congratulations, for you are on the verge of self-discovery. You will be taught these things if you read and apply the principles of this book. Results are what count. Every inspirational self-help action book should be judged by one immutable test: results. That is, by whether or not it motivated the reader to motivate himself to desirable action. By this standard, Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude is reputed to be one of the most successful books of its type ever published. Napoleon Hill, who died in 1970, counted it among his greatest accomplishments. In 25 years since it first appeared in bookstores, more than 900,000 copies have been printed. Our readers have had phenomenal results in changing their lives for the better, in meeting daily problems courageously, and bringing their desires into reality. Og Mandino, renowned motivational speaker and author of The Greatest Salesman in the World, and a string of other best-selling books, was one of those who experienced great changes in his life as a result of reading Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And he describes what happens to him in his preface. I'm going to skip the rest of this because it all just basically says the same thing. This is a great book. Yep. All right. So that is actually, I think, the preface. And I apologize because I did say I was not going to read it, but I was a little bit bamboozled. It was not labeled as the preface of the book. So there you have it. That's the introduction to the book. I will follow up with chapter 1 because this would be a very boring first video. But it should be, here available on the website along with this one. But point being, this is a pretty good book. I was gonna, like I said, pretty well renowned. I mean, of course, you're not going to see any forewords or any comments on a book saying this is the worst book ever. Don't read it. I don't know why you picked it up. But point being, good book, right? And even just reading the foreword actually is kind of exciting. Knowing that this is drawn out of conversation from really successful people gives you an idea that it is something worth reading, right? It's not just some random person's idea of what worked for them, right? It's not a self-help book in terms of it just being like, these were the 20 things that worked for me, and I did a little bit of research on them, and now I'm going to share them to you as if they're scientific fact. These are what we call a good sample size, right? If you're taking an experiment or you're taking a survey on a certain subject, having a good sample size means you've got enough that it represents the whole of the population you're trying to identify with the survey, right? So if you're trying to figure out how the average person thinks about parenthood or something like that, right? You want to take a serving size that is not only big, right? So 100 or more people. Usually, if it's less than 100, it's like, eh. And you want it to be people across the culture, right? You want it to be countercultural, right? Or transcend culture, where it's not just, you're not just asking people from one ethnic group, or you're not just asking people from one part of the country. You want it to span the whole country. You want it to cover an equal or relatively equal amount of people across country or cultures, in order to exemplify or to illustrate just that across the country, this is kind of the average response to this question. So knowing that, like I said, this is all drawn from numerous successful people, especially the ones named in the book, is a pretty promising thing. So without further ado, I am going to close out this video. I do have a client come in a couple minutes, so I got to close this out. But thank you for tuning in. Hopefully I didn't bore you. Again, comments, questions, requests in the comment section or by email or however you want to contact me about this. I appreciate them. But I will see you next time for chapter 1. Until then, I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.